Hello, hello, and welcome to another week. We meet building our world, building our lives. This is Moments with Vivacious, and we are excited to be with you in the house today. We are talking with Miss Alex H. Rose. Let me say Mrs. Alex H. Rose, and we're talking about our emotions. Our emotions, the emotions of this nation is totally out of control. From little people on the street to little people in big places. It's out of control. And I think that in order for us to redirect and direct our futures to a better place, we must get these emotions out of control. So we want to thank you, and we're going to ask you to like. If you have not subscribed, what is wrong with you? Press the subscribe button. Press like. I can see a lot of you are watching, but you are not pressing like. So I'd appreciate it if you press that like button, and we'll be right back with Mrs. Rose. Let's talk about. Welcome to A Moment with Vivacious, a freedom ride where we the people gather to build ourselves, our family, our community, and our nation. For the sound of America for progress has reached critical mass. Understanding that we must put aside our differences to focus on the greater good. This is a place of collaboration to rebuild and restore our nation. Welcome to A Moment with Vivacious. Hello, hello. Good evening, Alex.
Good evening.
Well, I think this is a perfect day for us to be on tonight, talking about our emotions. We just went through state, and that is a very emotional thing if anybody ever worked in places that was licensed by the state. But we did it. We did it. It was emotional and stressful, but we did it.
Absolutely. Very chaotic. But we
So it's so wonderful having you tonight on this very, very, very important topic to the nation, and it's our emotions. Can you tell us a little bit about you and who you are and why you think this discussion is important tonight?
absolutely. Like I said, my name's Alex. I work at a crisis unit. So of course we frequently see high emotions between clients, parents, families. I'm still in school, so still trying to get where I want to be. Hopefully, eventually counseling. Um, but I think that today, in today's world, emotions, kind of like you said, are so out of control, and it's so crucial that us as individuals and us as communities figure that out. Or else, it could be pretty rough.
And I think you're right about that. I think you're right about that because, when we watch the news, it's all about people who don't have control of their emotions. But we have Minister Carl Tass Jefferson. He's been a guest on our show today. And today, post about emotions was all over Facebook. So I think that this is a really right time to be talking about emotions. But I want to read Minister Cartaz's post today. Don't ever lose an opportunity because of your mouth or attitude. Emotional maturity is important. Always think before you react. Never react off of your emotions. What do you think of that statement? I thought it was deep.
It is very, and I think that that is something that we see so often is that people immediately react without thinking about it. They get so easily offended by something somebody says or an action that may occur, that they immediately almost want to retaliate, or they don't think about the depth of what was said or why, um our reactions towards anything can be detrimental to us. We see people that let their emotions get out of control and they lose employment. Or they ruin relationships with family members, friendships, over something that may be a misunderstanding. Um, so I think emotions, just as a community and as individuals, we've normalized just letting our emotions run us.
Right, and you mentioned that word offense. Offense. Oh, I'm offended. So now, look, if you say something, I remember this. I remember this so clearly. A gentleman was speaking. You can't even speak your opinion because if you get three people that's offended or don't agree with you, they'll get the mobs against you. And the man said, I think ladies should look better in slacks, and they should go back to wearing slacks rather than these stretch exercise pants. They had a rally on the man's lawn that day. And now look, oh, what did he say? Well, 10 of us don't believe that, so we want his job. He shouldn't have his job because he has his opinion. Like, do you have anything to say about that? That's big to me.
I think, that's a phenomenal example. Everybody is entitled to their opinion. So if he believes that, he absolutely can believe that. But it's our choice to acknowledge that. Those 10 women could have said, "You believe that, but I want nothing to do with it," and moved on. But instead, they have gotten so upset and so worked up about a comment that one person said, or a belief that one person said, that now you're rallying and trying to get this whole thing to cause his over one comment. Um, it's I think as communities, like I said, we have normalized getting so offended, and 9 times out of 10, it's really not that deep. You don't have to take it personal. Um, it Even people that we run into that may have already had a bad day, and they're showing it, their emotions, and then we get hurt that they may have had a bad attitude, but their bad day does not have to ruin my bad day.
Yes, yes. And then there's one more statement I want to read. As a matter of fact, it was a statement I put up advertising tonight on Facebook. And that is, your emotions are the slaves to your thoughts, and you are the slave to your emotions. What worries you masters you. Feelings are something you have, not something you are. The most important decision you can make is to be in a good mood.
I I absolutely think that it is a choice that we make to wake up and decide how we go about our day. I think emotion wise, sometimes we get up and we're like, oh my gosh, I got to go to work. Oh my gosh, I have to see this person. No, it's going to be a bad day. That sets us up when we can get up and make the choice, say, at least I get to go to work, at least I have a job, at least I can try to help this person. And that causes, when we wake up in that mindset, ourselves a successful day regardless of what may come.
I want to say, I want to apologize. We having little issues with the internet, but I had that all day long, even at work. So I don't know what's going on with the airways tonight. But Mademoiselle says, "Good evening, everyone. Good evening to you, and please press like. We're glad you're with us." So with that being said, and then it sounds like in that statement, like the most important decision you can make. Sounds like your attitude is a decision, or your so tell us a little bit, how does attitude and response, how does that correlate with emotions? Where does what is our emotions?
Yeah, absolutely. So, our attitude towards whatever may be going on, towards whatever we're facing, is going to set us up for how we handle that. So, working in a crisis unit, we may have a client that is screaming and hollering and causing a lot of chaos on the unit. So as a case manager, I can make the decision to be like, I don't want to go talk to this person, so I have to. I'm already upset about it. And that's going to show. Or I can say, hey, I'm going to handle this the best I can. I'm going to meet him where he's at. And that allows me to meet him with a smile rather than to meet him like I'm irritated to be talking to him. Um, and I think absolutely it is a choice. It's a decision. And it can be difficult sometimes. Absolutely. Especially, when you know that you're going to have a difficult time. But just choosing that I'm going to look at this in a positive light and having that attitude is going to in turn cause you to have a healthy, um, the term healthy emotion, if you look it up, it talks about how to cope when you're able to cope evenly with positive emotions and negative, um and kind of knowing how to balance so you are able to maintain a good positive uplifted spirit about you.
So, well, yeah, some days in that crisis unit, you
it's
have to say your prayers to hold on um, to a good attitude.
it's very
And then there's times where I know I'm not the person. I have to walk off and let somebody else come handle that because I won't do a good job. And that goes into knowing myself and being in tune to myself and, like we said, triggers. And sometimes I work a lot with the adolescents, and they'll say, well, that triggers me. It's like you're sitting there waiting for a trigger. You know what I'm saying? You wait. Okay, if you say that, then it gives me a right to do this.
right.
So with a person, because look, with things the way they are today, um, Alex, how in the world did we get this far out with not being able to control our emotions, with not being able to control ourselves? How did we get so blind to who we are, and how do we bring ourselves back in as a community, as a people,
Right.
to knowing ourselves? Is that too much at one time?
I don't think so. And I'm glad that you brought up the word triggered, because I think today we as individuals so easily throw out the word trigger, and it's about everything. This triggered me, that triggered me. It's this, that, and the third all the time on a trigger, um, and it's small things, but we use that as an excuse. Say this is why I
Can
did
you
this.
repeat that? Can you repeat what after you use that as an excuse? Can you repeat what you said?
Yeah, I said we use that as an excuse or like an out as to why we did what we did or why our act.
Yeah, and I've had.
Um,
I'm sorry.
Really, go ahead.
I hate this. Oh, okay. So I remember once I turned around and I told this young lady, I don't want to hear about your triggers. I don't want to hear that. So you already know that when somebody says, I'm making up a word, cartoon, that's irritating me. So what about you taking control of your inner feelings, knowing that any day, anytime, somebody might say cartoon? So can you tell us how do we look now? They going, girl, with the why you have the gun if you know you so easily somebody could call say baboon and now you wanna I made that word up. Somebody might say cornflakes, and now you're just going shooting everybody because how did it get that? How did it get? Uh, how, talk about that, can you?
I think, it started, we, the nation, the world, we continued to let things slide. And we continued to kind of say, okay, well, that was that individual. And we didn't hold ourselves accountable, as community, take the responsibility and say, hey, we're gonna fix this at the root. We're gonna nip it in where it's at so it doesn't go further. But instead, especially with, this generation and the newer generations, we said, it's okay that we're babying them, we're gonna soften or gentle parent them, and they get so used to these behaviors, that they think it's okay, you know. And even some of my generation, they were consistently told, it's okay what they're doing, so it became normal for them. Um, and when they're told it's wrong, of course, then their feelings are hurt. Um,
Yeah.
but I do agree, like a lot of the crime rate that we see uh, today stems from those unhealthy emotions, and you're mad over, whatever the case may be. You're mad because that person didn't sell you drugs, that, you're upset because that person didn't invite you out to dinner, but they invited somebody else, and now you want to fight her. And it doesn't have to be like that, talk it out. There is a level of when we need to learn healthy communication.
Yeah, because it's come to the point where people used to use guns. You had to be afraid somebody was robbing you. But if you make somebody angry, now they might show you. Can we talk about how? And we did a little bit, but can we expound on how our emotions, um, good and bad, affects our relationship?
Yeah. So, in relationships, whether that be family, whether that be friends, coworkers, when you go in with a positive attitude, you are automatically allowing not only for you to interact better, um, people are going to be drawn to you. If you go into work, for example, and you are consistently in a bad mood, and you're
Mhm.
constantly complaining, people are going to, navigate away from you. Whereas if you go in with a positive attitude and you're uplifting everybody and you're helping out, you're being a team player, you're creating a positive environment. Your emotions are creating a positive environment. Relationship wise, as family and friends, I think that's where a lot of communication comes in. Because of course you're gonna get into little debacles with your parents. You're gonna get into debacles with your friends, and it's important to understand your emotions don't have to outweigh the relationship. I consistently say, in romantic relationships, it's us against whatever the issue is. Not
Mhm.
issue is going to outweigh our relationship. Me being mad is not going to outweigh. You know, for one, you have to
It
understand and
said
take it.
when you say me being mad is not gonna we miss the rest. Could you tell us? This is very good.
Yeah, I said me being mad is not going to outweigh that I love you. So
Yeah.
me being upset with you is not going to outweigh the fact that our relationship is on a foundation. We can be mad at each other, but it
Mhm.
doesn't have to change the foundation of what we are.
Very good. Very good. Um, Mademoiselle um, commented that her question is not going through. Mademoiselle, if you're listening, you can text me the question and I'll read it to Alex. But that was that's very good, Alex. And when we're in control of our emotions, and I believe that this is why, as a nation, this is one of the most important topics we're going to discuss. Because when we are in control of our emotions and understanding, I think understanding that other people have a right to their feelings. We can come together as a people, as a family, as a couple to understand that you feel one way and I feel another way, but the important thing is to um, come to an understanding. I'm gonna let you come to an understanding in spite of our differences. Can you talk about that a little bit?
So I totally agree with you. I think a lot of that is where healthy communication comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you absolutely right in your opinion and why you think that way, as I am. But it's being able to say, I respect your opinion and I still love you. I still care about you. I just don't agree with you. And you can talk about that. Why do you feel that way? Why do I feel the way that I feel? And then, through that healthy communication and through those, talking skills, you are able to come to a healthy conclusion. And the other person will be able to see your perspective and say, okay, I get it. I get it. Um, but again, I think sometimes we get so caught up on this, well, you're wrong and I'm right, that it causes a tension. And that's where it gets very difficult.
And one thing about when I was reading about emotions, and I had to deal with it because I'm a Medea type of person. You know, you know what I'm saying? I'm a Medea type of person, so I'm gonna tell you off really fast. But I came to a point that I had to grow past that. I had to. I'm still at that, as a matter of fact, kind of person, but in a whole nother tone.
Right. I
But
think
so what I had, I'm sorry, go ahead.
and I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, cut me off. This is your conversation.
I think sometimes I like to call it tough love. I have a friend who I love her to pieces, but she's in a horrible relationship, and I tell her that all the time. But it's that tough love of me saying, you need to get your crap together, and realize that you don't deserve this, and realize that this is not what has to be your life. And she gets upset with me for it, and tells me that I love him, and there's history, and I do get that. But I think you saying you're a matter of fact person, and telling people it doesn't have to be like I'm just screaming at you and just giving you what I believe. It's, hey, like I'm trying to guide you and trying to help you in a love.
Well, my supervisor said, "Well, you made so and so cry." I had no idea I made so and so cry. First of all, so to me, in my mind, and I'm just being real out here, and handle up on whoever you have to handle up, so we can understand. Like she must be trying to play victim because I didn't see no tears. So, well, you're a
Right.
little rough. I think America is so babyfied. I said, I don't have no baby talk. I don't have no baby talk. This is the issue. So we need to fix the issue. I don't. Where do we come? And I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, give it to me. I'm a big girl. You know, I'm trying to learn um, to do it a little differently. And I think like I had a patient throw a cup of water in my face, and I didn't. Can you believe it? I did not Say one word, not one. Can you believe that, Alex? Because you know me, right?
To be honest, the victim mentality that this nation has so firmly grasped a hold to is truly shocking. It's everybody wants to play the victim in every situation, and quite frankly, it can be exhausting sometimes. Um, but we very rarely do you see people that are consistently taking accountability. You know, we're in an argument or you disagree, you have your portion to it too. You know, you're saying you made the your supervisor told you that you made somebody cry. Well, what was the problem? Are you upset because of the problem, or are you upset because they told you how to fix it and you didn't like the way they did it? You know, um,
Mhm.
the victim mentality is truly it's almost sickening sometimes because it's not. You have to hold yourself accountable. You have to take your responsibility.
And I raised my daughter this way, and I'm this way. Like if I'm gonna say something, especially sometimes I don't say look, blah 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 blah. So oh God, I did it again. So when I go back to tell a story, first I said what I did. I said yesterday I told so and so, look, we need to fix that. You know, I'm not signing that because you know how I am about this is how it goes. And people who know me know when I'm into something, I'm serious about it, and it's one, two, three. This is it. This is the policy, and this is what it's gonna be. And as long as I'm dealing with it, so I tell my side first. You know what I'm saying? I tell what I did wrong, and then I tell the situation. But oftentimes, you know, like recently, somebody called me and they told me the story. Okay, and then when heard from different people who was all around the situation because it happened in front of a group of people, magically what their, like you said, responsibility, their actions did not come across in telling the story at all. How can we, and that happens more than with children. You know, you want to hurry up and tell this fake story. How did we get that disconnected with right and wrong? It does that, is that part about emotions, or you know, I could be out the way with this.
No, I don't think you're out of the way. You know, I think that these fake stories and it's a sense of trying to get people to almost sympathize. You want sympathy, you want pity, you want somebody to like you're saying, and that comes from a lot of, again, you don't want to, you want everybody to agree with you, you want everybody to be on the side, and if somebody disagrees, it's an issue. You're ready to jump on them. You're ready to cuss them out. To, you know, whatever the case may be. Um, and it's. I think we have gotten to this point because we have allowed it to happen for so long. We started out, um, oh, you know, it's okay. Just don't do it again, and then we let it slide again. And sooner or later, you know, you got this big pile. You got this. Oh, well, now of how do we fix this? Um, and I think as a world, it is going to be difficult to navigate because as individuals, we all have to learn how to not only navigate and balance out our own emotions,
Yes.
by me too with your emotions too. You know, let's uplift each other and let's be there for each other, but understanding that hey, you're gonna have your bad days and I'm gonna have my bad days, and there's things that solve, but we can move past that. You know, we don't have to let it. overcome every single aspect of our life, every single aspect of our days. And I think that's so often what we see is just people. One thing happens and they get so upset about it, and then they're mad for the next week, the next month, and it just weighs on them, you know. And it's to me, it's just kind of like let it be. You know, if that's how it's going to be, that's how it's going to be. But me personally, I want to be happy. I want to be positive. I don't want to go through my days dreading what's coming and feeling like I want to lay down and just go to sleep. You know, I want to be able to get up and okay, you know, when we're able to fix that in a healthy way, we will address that. But for now, I'm gonna, you know, go about my day in a positive manner. I'm gonna look at it in a positive light.
Yeah, and the other day I went into work. Um I had some things going on in my life. And I went to work still, my jubilant self. Good morning. I love good mornings. I love hugs. Good morning and hugging, but it was a part of my attitude that I really, really, really had to fight with. Y'all did this, and then, I laugh because I'm trying to get through it. And I did apologize. You know, not for being wrong or right, but for my delivery, for allowing my feelings to even, it wasn't like super bad and overpowering, but people knew it wasn't me. I didn't say, well, wait, what happened here? Can we talk about this? Y'all did it wrong. And, cause I think I got it all right. You know how I am. But so tell us, even me, how do when we know we having a bad attitude, how because it's a choice, right? That was the opening statement. It was a choice. How do we get past um ourselves? Because the worst person dealing with you is the hardest thing. So, and that's why I kind of saved it to the end. How do we get past the ugly of ourselves? First of all, facing and getting to know that this is the ugly me.
Right. You know, I had a client that I sat down with today, and she was really beating herself up over, you know, coming in and looking for help, but wanting to leave. And, you know, she just wanted to go home, but she knew she needed. And I told her, I said, you know, the only person to beat is you. That's the only person that you have to beat. Um, you know, we are going to face things in our personal lives or in our work lives. And it's, yes, it's learning how to separate them, but that can be difficult. Like you're saying, you know, when you're going through so much and then you have to go be positive and act like everything's okay sometimes. Um, and I don't think necessarily that you have to act like everything's okay. I think that it's good to say, hey, you know, I am feeling this way, but it's not your fault. You know, I just have some things that I'm working on. I'm going through, but understand that however I may appear, it's not you. You don't have to take it personally. And if you know there's something that is just really standing out, absolutely bring it to my attention. I personally, know this is something that is none of these people's fault. It's none of my clients' fault, and they can deal with it that way. Um, but I think you fighting you is always going to be the biggest battle. You are your own biggest enemy, and I will say that till the day I go to the grave. Your emotions and mind are so powerful, and we don't even realize it. You know, sometimes we're thinking about these things and we're not doing it consciously, you know, it just happens. But being able to really take control for yourself, learning how to navigate your own feelings and learning what helps you navigate them are so crucial to our well-being, and our well-being in our relationships, our well-being in our employment, just even your personal self. um, your emotions control so much of you, and they have part of you that you have to understand that why are you feeling this way, how can I navigate this, how can I, you know, seek help, because I think sometimes we think seeking help is a bad thing. Not. Um, but to just learn how to get our emotions under control, and allow that help in, and our emotions will follow suit pretty much. When you're looking for help and you're being uplifted and somebody's pouring into your cup, of course you're going to be uplifted. You're going to start eventually feeling better. And then from there, pour into somebody else's cup. And then, eventually we're in this cycle. You pour into my cup, I pour into their cup, they cup pour into somebody else's, and we're all feeling good.
Okay, Patricia Harris said, yes, Alex, I agree.
And
One more thing, Alex. I want to talk about that there was a time in my life. Um, and I hear this from other people. They're so it's like the inner self is untouchable. Like I can't reach me. Like why am I crying? Why am I um why am I angry? And a lot of males is like, why am I angry? What am I angry about? How do I guess the question really is how do I touch my inside, understand myself? Because there's a lot of people, a large number of people, when even at work, and I know you say you're not a counselor, but you end up I watch you phenomenal at what you do. Um, you do a little bit of it all, and how you're not and going to school, God, so how do a person who's totally out of touch with themselves, and I hear people say, girl, you know me, and that person I know is nothing like the person you just think you're like.
right.
Can we talk about that a little bit?
I think, it can be very difficult to really get to the soul of who you are, the bones of your body. Um, a lot of times when we're facing just these emotions that we feel like are out of nowhere, sometimes for adults, it can stem all the way back to childhood. We didn't address this then. So we're feeling this way now. And it takes going through and finding the root of what started that emotion. And because we didn't address it at the root, and we kind of let it grow, and we let that tree grow. Now we have this whole big emotion that we're like, I don't know what to do with this. I don't know where it's coming from. I don't understand it. Um, and like, I always say, counseling is not a bad thing. So many people look at it like it is. Um, but it can be so beneficial on really figuring out who we are, who we embody as a soul. Um, it's so crucial to get to that point. And in getting to that point, you're able to understand how you cope, what helps you. And from there, of course, you have a stack of positive emotions. And when you start feeling bad, and when you start getting to that, you kind of feel like you're spiraling in the wrong direction. Okay, let's do this. We know this helps me, so let's go ahead and get this right here before we let it get worse. Um, but I think it can be very difficult to truly acknowledge that you are facing these emotions, and it can be very difficult to get to the embodiment of who you are. Um, it, and it can be confusing. Honestly, can be very confusing.
And another big thing to me is that all the emotions come from the same place. Being happy and sad, angry and content. All of those emotions come from the same place. How do we give power to that, to the positive emotions? Being like they're all lined up in the same place, you know, which one, how do you turn, what? I don't even know what I'm asking, but you understand what I'm saying. Tell us something.
I do, and I think that goes back to having the choice and making the decision. There are times where I want to be so mad at a client because they've called me every name in the book, and told me to get out, to leave them the hell alone. There have been times that I've been in arguments with my significant other. It's kind of going back. I have the choice to say I am upset, but I'm going to choose to be happy. I'm going to choose to be grateful that I have this opportunity, that I have you. So again, I think it goes back to making the decision, and internally making that decision, consciously making that decision. Going back, it can be difficult. You may have to tell yourself, I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna be happy about this. I'm gonna not let this ruin my mood. I'm not gonna let this ruin, my health, my self-esteem. I'm gonna take it, and choose to be okay. I'm gonna choose to go the positive route instead of going the negative route and being angry and exploding, or being violent. I think it comes down to a really.
Yeah, you're giving us a lot to talk about. I mean, to think about. You're giving us a lot. This was. I think it was really good. I am just so sorry that we're having such a bad connection tonight. But when you listen to it again, it's coming through studio. So studio won't have all of the breaking up that we had. And I would admonish anybody, share this video. And look, if you haven't liked, because I can see when it's over a lot of numbers for people that's on air. So please just take a little time to press like. So, Alex, if you can close us out with mastering our emotions. I think you took us to a good beginning. Like where do we begin? Even though we went backwards, but we did that for a purpose because it was like peeling
Right.
the conversation. So I want you to close us out real strong on our emotions. And not only one thing, wait, I'm sorry, before we close, we did not discuss one thing, and that is our reaction, especially in our homes, our reaction to other people's, to our family members, or even on our job. When you go as far as we know, we look at the people on our job and we'll say, we know this person came in here because of that, this is their issue. So really, somebody cursing me out on my job doesn't bother me. The patients, let me say, the patients cursing me out on my job doesn't bother me, because this is why you're here. Something got disconnected way back. But being cursed out in your home, I told a young lady today, look, don't curse your man like that. That an old lady tell you. Don't curse your man like that. Don't speak to him like that. Dealing with our emotions, first of all, not only with ourselves, but in other people's emotions in an immediate environment. Can you talk about that before we close?
So I think for my personal opinion, I know we talked about opinions, but I think so many people look at arguments and disagreements, think it has to be solved right. And a lot of times our anger and our bitterness is so built up and the tensions are so high right in that moment, that we let that take control. And then it turns into a scream fight of, again, I'm wrong and you're right. And I don't understand why you feel this way. It can just really get ugly from there. And I think a lot of times, or at least sometimes, it's okay to say, okay, let's pause on this. You take a breath, let me take a breath, and let's revisit this when we can talk about it, when we can communicate and figure out a way to move forward, when we can come to a conclusion that is going to be beneficial for both, whether that be if we just leave it alone and decide that, hey, we're okay. It's okay. It's really not that deep. Or we come to an agreement, but so many people want to, I'm right, I'm right, I'm right, I'm right, I'm right. And you just want to prove your point that you're forgetting, you letting, letting just come out, just word vomit out of your mouth. And then you end up hurting that person.
Uh,
So I think taking a step back, especially in the home, your romantic relationships, your family, because it's help build the foundation of who you are. Um,
mm-hmm. Yes.
and so not letting those relationships be broken down and be destroyed, small things, when you can just take a step back and breathe, acknowledge what you're feeling. Sometimes we don't really fully understand why we're so upset. We just know that we're upset. Let's acknowledge why I feel the way I feel. That person can acknowledge why they feel the way that they feel, but understand, then come back to it. And I think that saves so many relationships.
Well, we have a question from Mademoiselle, and she says, Alex, how do you control your mood when you have patients that may yell and scream the entire shift? You yourself may be experiencing some PTSD from the actions of the patient. How do you control this?
Um, Absolutely. And Val, you have seen the adult units, and it can be very chaotic. And I have had countless patients cuss me out, yell at me. I've had people throw things at me. I even had a client about a week or two ago who spit at me. Um, and in those moments, it's very vital for me personally to kind of step off the floor. And like you said, acknowledge this person is going through psychosis, or this person is detoxing. They're going through harsh withdrawals. Whatever that client or that case may be. But to step away and say, okay, it may not be them specifically, and it's still acknowledging they're they're not animals, they're not anything like that. They are human. They have their feeling. They're going through something, and then coming back to it and saying, "Hey, let's talk about." I understand that it's uncomfortable, especially in the crisis unit. I understand it's comfortable. I understand or
I'm sorry, repeat from I understand it's uncomfortable. Can you repeat from there, please?
yeah, I said, it's uncomfortable. It's you're going through withdrawals. It's not fun to say the least. But it's not you, you know. So being able to take myself off the floor and be upset, allow myself to calm down because of course I don't like being spit on. Um, let's calm down. Still remember that they are going through things, and then come back to them and say, okay, let's talk about it. I understand that you're mad, and I get that, but let's take it step by step. Let's okay, this is why you're mad. This is what we can do about it right now, right in this moment. And then go from there. That kind of leads on how to proceed throughout the day, throughout their the unit. Uh, but Ms. Val, it can be a very uphill battle
And
sometimes.
when you have somebody screaming your entire 12-hour shift,
Yes. Yeah,
two 15-minute breaks don't get it sometimes.
not enough. It can be a definitely a uphill battle, and some days are long, to say the least.
Yeah, and sometimes it's psychosis and being manic, and sometimes people just do it because their life is where it is.
Right.
And I think for me, um, sometimes I have to walk off because when I feel like I'm losing control of myself and I only have a few minutes of professionalism left, I have to go regroup. And sometimes you have to leave and go regroup more times than you would like to be off the floor. But
Yeah.
it may not be like that every day.
Yeah, I had a client not too long ago. He consistently just all the time, and I was trying my best to help him and trying to get what he wanted. And I eventually had to tell him, if you're gonna keep yelling at me, I'm gonna have to end the conversation. If you keep yelling, the conversation's gonna be over. And it, like you said, it got to a point where I just walked away. I said, okay, you can win this battle, I'll come back to you, but um like you're saying, I knew if I kept standing there and just kept taking it and taking it and taking it, I was gonna start yelling, and I didn't do that, I know my
And maybe not some nice things.
right. I want to allow you to get me out of my character because of your
And Kanisha White says, "Hello, everyone. I am so really happy to have had. Um, if we could talk about, I'm not gonna say one more thing before we end one. I promise this is gonna be the one more thing. I want to talk about because this is a really really big problem. Anger.
yes, anger.
Um, you know, some people have so much anger or dealing with anger that has nothing to do with today or what happened today. They just have an angry attitude. Not only I need you to talk to not only people that are angry, and after you hear this tonight, um, give us something who may know somebody that's angry, but they don't know they're angry, but you have to deal with them. Even in your household, you don't know when they're gonna come home, and that button has been pressed, and they don't have to be around anybody all day because anger just sits inside of them and rules.
Right.
Anger is the ruling emotion.
Yeah. Again, I think a lot of times it's being able to separate yourself. Um, and like I was kind of discussing a couple minutes ago, you there are individuals who hold this down emotion and this negative they're letting it overflow their cup. Um, but I take it, I can keep pouring positive into you. You might not like it. You might make me a little bit uncomfortable, but I'm still uplifting, and I'm gonna keep doing it day in, day out. And eventually might come around to me, or you might open up and say, you know what, like this is really what I'm going through, or this is what I'm facing. I think a lot of anger stems from resentment of something that could have happened months ago, years ago, but we're still holding on to that. And that is, like you said, controlling us. That's pouring over.
And how do you deal with when you're even letting my daddy was, my mama wasn't who I thought they should be, so I'm still mad with the world. How could you help someone that you care about deal with that?
Um, I'm gonna be very transparent. That's a difficult one to answer. Um, we all have our personal beliefs on how a mother should mother, how a pair or how excuse me, how a father should father. And it can be very difficult when it's kind of like, well, I think my mom should have done this, and I think my dad done this. But kind of talking to an individual that's feeling that way and acknowledging, I understand that you think this, but why did that parent act that way? Was it tough love? Was it discipline? Was it whatever? Let's get to the root of it. I think a lot of times today kids get so upset about being disciplined, and it's really for your greater good, but
Yes.
it control you to the point where you don't want anything to do with your mom because she held you accountable. It got onto you because what you were doing was maybe dangerous or it put you at harm's way, whatever the case may be. Um, but really, let's acknowledge why, and then let's say, okay, well, this is why you feel this way. Why did this happen? And let's meet in the middle. Um, but it's very difficult with children and parents, just because again everybody has their own opinion, everybody believes how things should go, but that's very difficult if I'm being transparent.
Mhm. Yeah, and not only that, things that happen in life, you just angry. You letting that rule you. 55 years ago, this happened to me. I got robbed at the grocery store. So, and I'm mad about that because I had cut grass to make this money. Now somebody robbed me, and that's still controlling your life.
Right, you're stuck on that. You put it like 10 years ago, I was robbed of $20, and years later you're still so stuck on that $20. That was taken from me. I earned that, but you forget that you're here now, and you've had all of this positive reinforcement and positive things happen. You've got to learn to let it go. You've got to learn to be able to make peace with it, and making peace with those harsh times, those times where it just feels like it's so brutal on you. Making peace with that eventually, and realizing and acknowledging your emotions turn cause cause an up, you're going to be going uphill, you're going to be uplifted, you're going to start seeing the brighter side. um you're going to get to that side that the grass is greener on.
Yes, and sometimes you've already passed it up.
Yeah, absolutely,
Your
absolutely.
lawn just getting bigger and bigger, but you're so stuck in
Right.
anger. Yeah,
Absolutely.
anger is like ruling the world right now. Everybody's. Sometimes you're mad because you got busted doing the wrong thing, and it was all your fault.
Right, right, we miss a lot of opportunities, um because of our emotions, whether that be
Get in tune with
bitterness.
you. Hmm.
We miss a lot of open doors.
I hope everyone pressed like this time, Alex. I'm gonna. It's been phenomenal. This has really been a great discussion, and I think that everybody who will hear it, it has definitely touched them in their home, even their jobs.
Well,
So I'm grateful for our job today.
I,
But
I'm grateful, Val.
yeah, in my experiences, I've learned that when people are in their anger, and they want to just show out, I get kind. And like you said, I'm just gonna say something about you, especially when we get bad boys. Hey, guy, why you wanna act like that? So tell me what you're gonna do with your life. Let's focus there. And when you take that, disarm them. When you disarm their anger, it's, they could tell you on the children's unit that all the bad boys are my good friends, and that's because the first thing I do is disarm them,
Right.
and I give them a new weapon: winning, winning. Tonight I had to do that with a mom. But so if you can, don't forget to press like, y'all. So if you can bring this all together and give us a happy ending.
Um, Overall, emotions can be so difficult to navigate. But I think as a community, we have the ability. We absolutely have the resources, we have the ability, we have the knowledge um to grasp it where it is and make it. Um, and I think once we, as a whole, start working towards that change and creating healthy relationships and learning healthy communication skills, not emotions control us, um, just truly getting an understanding of what helps us, why do we feel certain ways, going back and acknowledging what happened in the past and being able to let that go, we will see such a brighter future than what we see right now. Um, I think if we continue to move forward the way we are, I don't see it getting better if we keep doing this. But I think a brighter future is definitely in store for us as a nation, and in each individual community. Once we really get a hold of our emotions and help each other out, let's uplift each other, let's pour into each other's cup, and we'll get to where we need to be.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm happy. This was really good. I want to thank everyone who's listening. Please press like before you leave the air. So I just want to say good night to you, and pleasant dreams, and stay in touch with you.
Good
Thank
night.
you.